Waiver wire winners for fantasy football heading into week 6. James Conner exited week 5 with a knee injury, and he's expected to miss some time. Keontae Ingram was also inactive this week with a neck injury. So the next man up was rookie Emari Demercado, who ran the ball 10 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. He played 77% of the snaps. Logan Thomas has had some positive signs so far this season. In week 1, he earned 8 targets. In week 2, he scored a touchdown before exiting with a concussion that held him out of week 3. Then in week 5, he caught 9 of his 11 targets for 77 yards and a touchdown, 20.7 fantasy points. It's evident that Sam Howell is well connected with his tight end, Logan Thomas. Tyjae Spears was a third-round selection in this year's NFL draft by the Titans. He scored a season-high 16.9 fantasy points in week 5, scored his first touchdown, had a season-high 4 receptions for 35 yards as well. Spears continues to stay involved despite having Derrick Henry on the roster. He's had 4 weeks playing above 50% of the snaps. So let's talk about the Bears situation. Khalil Herbert left week 5 with a high ankle sprain and should be missing some time. Roschon Johnson also is dealing with a concussion. Travis Homer has had a hamstring injury. D'Onta Foreman has been a healthy scratch for the last 4 weeks. So in week 5, when Herbert and Homer and Johnson were all down, Foreman was a scratch, it was the fullback Blasingame who was getting the work. Here's how I approach this situation. I believe the best add is rookie Roschon Johnson. Opened up the season catching 6 passes and rushing for a touchdown. He was for a time splitting work with Khalil Herbert. And in 4 out of 5 games, he's averaged 4, 8, 4.75, and 6.33 yards per carry. I thought Roschon Johnson was going to take over eventually as is. But we're not sure if he's going to play this coming week, again, dealing with that concussion. So the stash is Roschon Johnson, but I think the short-term add would be D'Onta Foreman. D'Onta Foreman has had fantasy relevance in the past. He filled in for Christian McCaffrey after he was dealt from Carolina to San Francisco and did well there. 2 years ago, he filled in for an injured Derrick Henry and was very fantasy relevant as well. So again, short-term add, D'Onta Foreman, stash, Roschon Johnson. We had breaking news this morning that Justin Jefferson is set to hit the IR with a hamstring injury. Jefferson got banged up in week 5, and KJ Osborne was targeted 9 times. Osborne opened up the season in back-to-back weeks being targeted 6 times. Osborne was just targeted 90 times last season. He's had 2 seasons above 650 receiving yards. Kirk Cousins is leading the league in passing attempts, so there is volume to be had in Minnesota. With Justin Jefferson out, that creates a role for KJ Osborne more consistently. Josh Downs caught all 6 of his targets in week 5 for 97 yards. He had catches of 38, 27, and 25 receiving yards. Back in week 3, he caught 8 of his 12 targets. So right now, if we're looking at the Colts roster, he is the number 2 target to Michael Pittman Jr. Dalton Schultz was back on the fantasy radar in week 4 because he scored a touchdown. He had 42 receiving yards, tight end 6 finish. Then in week 5, he followed that up with another tight end 6 finish. He caught 7 of 10 targets for 65 yards and yet another touchdown. So a lot of season highs right there. So his usage and production has been trending up. Justice Hill split work with Gus Edwards. It is a true committee, but Justice Hill is the guy that gets the red zone and the pass catching work. Hill scored his 3rd rushing touchdown of the season in week 5. He also caught 4 passes. 2nd round 2023 selection by the Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice is number 2 in targets on the year after Travis Kelce. In 4 of his 5 games played, Rashee Rice has earned 5+ targets. Rice scored his 2nd touchdown of the year in week 5, 59 receiving yards back in week 3. He just needs to play more percent of the snaps, but Rice, again, is the number 2 target on a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. So rookie Devon Achane is a candidate now to be placed on the IR with a knee injury. Raheem Mostert also has a questionable tag on him. Jeff Wilson Jr. is set to return from the IR. He's had plenty of fantasy relevance in the past when he touches the football, and he has a history with head coach Mike McDaniels. So with Miami being banged up at the running back position, Jeff Wilson Jr. returns to potentially be the running back one and should be a primary target of yours for the waiver wire. DJ Chark has played somewhere between 92 to 99% of the snaps the last 3 weeks in a row. Within this 3-week span, he's had 2 top 24 performances for the wide receiver position for fantasy football. 11 targets in week 3. He had 6 in week 5. Chark has had 14-plus yards per catch in every appearance this season, which just shows the upside he can bring. Another guy who might be under the radar because the Browns were just on a bye week is Elijah Moore. The last time Deshaun Watson played was week 3, and Elijah Moore caught all 9 of his targets. The Browns took a big offensive hit in week 4 because they had their backup quarterback playing. But Elijah Moore has opened up the season with 7, 9, and 9 targets, and being the number 2 wide receiver behind Amari Cooper is going to eventually translate to fantasy football impacts with Deshaun Watson. Be sure you are following Fantrax on all socials for consistent fantasy football content to help you guys win.